All right, listen up. We're about to dive into the most complex, high-performance piece of equipment you will ever be assigned. And get this, there are no replacements, no trade-ins. Making sure it functions optimally, that's non-negotiable. So think of this as your operator's manual. You're going to want to pay attention.
So what is this machine we're talking about? I mean, think about it. It's got a chassis that repairs itself, a power plant that can run for decades, and a processing unit, well, it's way more powerful than any supercomputer out there. Any guesses what it is?
Yeah, you got it. You're operating it right now, the human body. And what we're doing today is giving you the blueprint you absolutely need to understand its core systems. So let's get into it.
Okay, section 1, the body's framework. Look, every single machine starts with a frame, right? And for us, that frame is the skeletal system. You've got to think of it as the fundamental chassis that everything else is built on. It's what gives you structure, protection, and all the anchor points for movement.
So let's run some of the core specs. Your standard adult model, it comes equipped with 206 individual bones. And these aren't just a random pile of parts. They're organized into two main subsystems. First up, you've got the axial skeleton. That's 80 bones. Just think of this as the absolute central pillar of the whole machine. We're talking your skull, your vertebral column, and your rib cage. Its main job, protecting your most vital internal components. Super important. And then there's the second subsystem, the appendicular skeleton. This one's got 126 bones. Now, these are your limbs, your arms and legs, and the girdles that connect them to that central core we just talked about. This is the hardware that lets you actually do stuff, to run, to climb, to operate in your environment. Let's dig a little deeper into that central core. You've got 29 bones making up your skull. That's what protects your command center, your brain. Then there are 26 vertebrae that form this incredibly flexible, yet super supportive, column. And finally, the 25 parts of your rib cage. That's 24 ribs plus the sternum. They literally create a protective cage for your power plant.
Okay, pay close attention to this next part, because it's crucial. This whole framework is operated by two different kinds of, let's call them biological cables. First, you have tendons. Tendons connect your muscles to your bones. They're what your muscles pull on to actually move the whole chassis. Then you've got ligaments. Ligaments connect bone to bone, and they give you stability at the joints. You absolutely have to know the difference between these two. It's mission critical.
All right, on to section 2, the power plant. It's simple, right? A machine is totally useless without energy. And for you, your respiratory and circulatory systems work together as one big integrated unit. Their job is to take in fuel, that's oxygen, and then distribute power in the form of oxygenated blood to every single component of your body.
So how does it work? Well, it all starts with air intake. Air gets pulled in through your nostrils, it goes down the pharynx, through the larynx, and into the trachea or your windpipe. From there, it splits into the bronchi, which branch out all over your lungs, and finally it reaches millions of these tiny little air sacs called alveoli. And that right there, that's the spot. That's the exchange point where the fuel, the oxygen, actually enters your system.
And here's a specific design note about the larynx. In the male machine, this piece of cartilage actually gets bigger and more prominent during puberty. It's what deepens your voice and creates that visible bump you know as the Adam's apple. So, yeah, it's just a standard feature of your particular model.
Okay, let's talk performance specs. You've got to know your machine's capacity. First, tidal volume. Think of this as your engine at idle. It's about 500 milliliters of air with each normal breath. Then you have vital capacity. This is your operational max, the total usable volume you can work with, and it averages around 4,800 milliliters. Finally, total lung capacity. This is your absolute red line, the max your lungs can hold, which is about 6,000 milliliters. And look, understanding these numbers, that's the first step to actually expanding them through training.
So smack in the middle of this power plant is the engine itself, your heart. This muscle, it's only about the size of your fist, but it is the pump that drives the entire system. For an adult male, it weighs somewhere between 280 and 340 grams. It is an absolute marvel of endurance engineering, no question. Now let's talk about the plumbing that's hooked up to that pump. You've got two main types of pipes, arteries. Think of these as the high-pressure outbound lines. They have thick, muscular walls, and their job is to carry that oxygen-rich blood away from the heart. Then you have the veins. These are the low-pressure return lines. They're thinner, and they have these cool one-way valves to make sure the deoxygenated blood gets back to the heart to get refueled.
All right, moving on to Section 3, Fuel and Waste Systems. Because obviously, your machine doesn't just run on air. It needs complex fuels for energy and for repairs, and it has to have a really efficient way to process all that fuel and then get rid of the waste that's left over.
So this is your primary fuel processing line. It all kicks off in the mouth with mechanical grinding and the first bit of chemical breakdown. From there, the esophagus is just a transport tube down to the stomach, which is basically an acid bath where protein digestion really starts. But the small intestine, that's the main event. That's where digestion is finished, and all the critical nutrients get absorbed into your bloodstream. And finally, the large intestine just reabsorbs water before getting rid of the rest.
Now, let's look at the initial processing tools you've got. Your teeth. This dental hardware is super specialized. That formula you see, 2123, that just represents 1/4 of your mouth. You've got 2 incisors for cutting, 1 canine for tearing, and then 2 premolars and 3 molars for grinding everything up. But the coolest design feature here, it's the enamel coating. It is, without a doubt, the single hardest substance your body produces. It's built for maximum durability.
Okay, on the other end of the system, you have waste management. And excretion isn't just about getting rid of stuff. It's about maintaining a super precise internal balance. We call this osmoregulation, and it's a non-negotiable process. It's all about keeping the perfect water and chemical balance in your blood. Your kidneys are the main filtration units here, and they are constantly processing your entire blood supply to pull out waste. If they fail, the whole system fails. It's that simple.
And here's a key operational metric you should know for that system. Under normal conditions, the adult male machine filters and gets rid of somewhere between 1 and 1.8 liters of urine every 24 hours. And that output? It's a direct indicator of your hydration level and how well your kidneys are working, so pay attention to it.
Okay, it's time for the final briefing. This is all about operating at peak performance. We're going to do a rapid-fire review of the mission-critical facts you need to have absolutely locked in. These are your machine's most important specs.
You need to remember these. Longest bone? That's the femur in your thigh. Smallest bone? The stapes deep inside your ear. We already talked about the hardest substance, your tooth enamel. Your main power source for movement is your muscles. They make up about 40% of your total body weight. And that burn you feel when you're pushing hard, that's muscle fatigue. It's caused by a buildup of lactic acid when you push your body so hard it can't get enough oxygen.
So, there you have it. The basic blueprint, the core systems, the key specs. And listen, this knowledge isn't just for a test. It is fundamental to your performance, your endurance, your resilience, everything. So the question isn't, what is this machine anymore? The real question is, now that you have the operator's manual, what are you going to do to optimize it?